I was standing in front of my father's house on a cold November night, with a suitcase in my hand. He had just told me not to come back until I apologized to my sister. I looked at him, said one word, and turned around. That word was all right. I had no idea it would be the last time I walked out of that door as his son. What happened after that single moment? It destroyed everything they thought they had built. Before I tell you how one word changed everything, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what happened next, nobody in my family saw it coming, and I promise you will not either. Now, let me take you back to where this all started. My mother, Patricia, died when I was 16 years old. Kimberly, my sister, was only 12. Before that day, our house felt whole. Mom had this way of making everyone feel seen, heard, and loved equally. She would sit with me while I did homework, then braid Kimberly's hair before bed. She balanced everything perfectly. When she passed away from cancer, it felt like someone ripped the foundation out from under our family. Dad took it the hardest. Thomas, my father, loved my mother more than anything in this world. After the funeral, he became a different person. He started pouring all his grief, all his love, all his attention into Kimberly. At first, I understood it. She was younger. She looked exactly like Mom, with that chestnut brown hair and those green eyes that seemed to hold the ocean. Every time Dad looked at her, I could see him searching for his wife in our little sister's face. I looked like him. Dark hair, tall frame, broad shoulders. Maybe that is why he never looked at me the same way. Maybe seeing me reminded him too much of himself and not enough of the woman he lost. I tried not to think about it too much back then. I told myself he was grieving, that time would heal things, that eventually we would find our balance again. But time did not heal anything. It made the divide wider. By the time I turned 18 and headed to college, the pattern was crystal clear. I had earned a full academic scholarship to State University. I worked part-time at a campus bookstore to cover my other expenses. I sent money home when I could. Meanwhile, Kimberly had a credit card linked to Dad's account with no limit. She would come home with shopping bags every week. New clothes, new shoes, new everything. When I came home for holidays, I would cook dinner, clean the house, mow the lawn. Dad would nod at me like I was the hired help. Kimberly would sit on the couch scrolling through her phone, and when I asked if she wanted to help, Dad would say, "Let her rest. She is still young. She needs her energy for school." She was 18 by then. I had been doing chores since I was 10. I graduated with honors at 22. Dad came to the ceremony. He shook my hand and said, "Good." That was it. One word. When Kimberly graduated high school with average grades 2 years later, Dad threw a party that cost thousands of dollars. He invited everyone he knew. He gave a speech about how proud he was, how she was, his everything, how she reminded him of her mother every single day. I stood in the corner of that party and felt invisible, but I kept trying. I got a job at a marketing firm in the city. I worked 60-hour weeks. I saved every penny I could. I bought a small house when I was 26, a 2-bedroom place on the edge of town, with a yard that needed work but had good bones. I was proud of that house. I had earned it myself. Kimberly was 24 by then, still living with Dad, working part-time at a boutique when she felt like it. Dad paid for everything. Her car, her phone, her nights out with friends. I would still visit every Sunday, bringing groceries or a meal I had cooked. I kept hoping that somehow, some way, Dad would see me. Really see me. Then I met Jessica. She was a project manager at a firm we partnered with. Smart kind, with this laugh that made everything feel lighter. We dated for a year, and I knew she was the one. I was planning to propose. Life finally felt like it was coming together. I had my house, my career, and now someone who actually saw me for who I was. That is when everything fell apart. It was October when I decided to organize a family dinner to announce our engagement. I wanted to do it right. I booked a table at Marcello's, this upscale Italian restaurant downtown, with white tablecloths and candles on every table. I paid for everything in advance. I invited Dad, Kimberly, Jessica, and Jessica's parents. The beginning of the evening went smoothly. Everyone arrived on time. Dad shook hands with Jessica's father. Kimberly wore a tight smile that did not reach her eyes, but I ignored it. I was too happy to let anything ruin this moment. Halfway through the appetizers, I stood up. My hands were shaking a little as I reached for Jessica's hand. "I have an announcement to make," I said. "Jessica and I are engaged." The table erupted in congratulations. Jessica's parents hugged us both. Dad nodded, which for him was practically a standing ovation. But Kimberly sat frozen, her face, going pale, then red, then pale again. She did not say anything. She just stared at her plate, like it had personally offended her. Then right as the main courses arrived, it happened. Kimberly reached for her water glass, but somehow her hand knocked it over directly into Jessica's lap. Red wine splashed across Jessica's cream-colored dress, the one she had bought special for tonight. The table went silent. "Oh my God, I am so sorry," Kimberly said, her voice dripping with fake concern. "It was an accident. I am such a klutz." Jessica, bless her heart, smiled and said, "No worries. These things happen." She excused herself to the restroom to clean up. I watched her go, my jaw tight, because I had seen it. I had seen the way Kimberly's eyes tracked Jessica before she accidentally knocked that glass over. It was deliberate. But I kept quiet. I did not want to cause a scene. Jessica came back 10 minutes later, the stains still visible but her composure intact. We tried to continue the meal. Then Kimberly opened her mouth again. "So, Jessica," she said, her voice sugary, sweet, "you are marrying my brother for his money, right? I mean, he worked so hard for it. That house, that car, must be nice." The table went dead silent. Jessica's face flushed. "That is not why I am marrying him at all," she said quietly. "I love your brother." "Sure you do," Kimberly said, twirling her fork. "Daddy always says, honesty matters." "Right, Daddy." I could not stay quiet anymore. "Kimberly, that is enough." She turned to me with wide, innocent eyes. "What I am, just being honest. You always told me to speak my mind." Dad cleared his throat. "She has a point, Amos. You should be careful. People do marry for the wrong reasons." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Jessica's parents looked uncomfortable. Jessica looked like she wanted to disappear. I forced myself to breathe, to stay calm, to not flip the table and walk out right there. We finished the meal in strained silence. I paid the bill, thanked everyone for coming, and drove Jessica home. She cried in the passenger seat. Not because of what Kimberly said, but because she could see how much it hurt me that my own father did not defend me. 2 weeks later, my phone rang at 8 in the morning. It was Dad. His voice was cold and sharp. "I heard from Kimberly what you did. How could you embarrass your sister like that in public?" I sat up in bed, confused. "What are you talking about? Do not play dumb with me, Amos. Kimberly told me you called her pathetic. You told her she was a burden to this family. You humiliated her in front of everyone at that restaurant." My mind went blank. "Dad, that is not true. That never happened. She is lying." "Why would your sister lie? She was crying when she told me." "Actually crying, Amos." I took a deep breath and explained what really happened. The deliberate spill, the insulting comments about Jessica, the way she tried to ruin our engagement dinner. I kept my voice calm, factual, hoping he would hear me. "You are making excuses," Dad said. "Kimberly would never do something like that. You have always been jealous of her." "Jealous." The word came out sharper than I intended. "Dad, I have been nothing but supportive of her my entire life. Come home this weekend. We need to talk, face to face." He hung up before I could respond. That Saturday, I drove to Dad's house. My stomach was in knots the entire way. I kept thinking maybe, just maybe, if I explained everything calmly, he would understand. He would see the truth. Kimberly was sitting on the living room couch when I walked in. Her eyes were red and puffy like she had been crying for hours. Dad stood by the fireplace, his arms crossed, his face hard as stone. "Sit down," he said. It was not a request. I sat in the chair across from Kimberly. She would not look at me. She just stared at her hands, playing the victim perfectly. "You owe your sister an apology," Dad said. "For what exactly?" "You know what you did," Kimberly whispered, her voice breaking. "You humiliated me in front of everyone. You made me feel worthless." I forced myself to stay calm. That is not what happened. Dad. I brought Jessica and her family to that restaurant to share good news. Kimberly deliberately spilled a drink on Jessica's dress. Then she made insulting comments, suggesting Jessica was only marrying me for money. If you do not believe me, call the restaurant. Ask the staff. Ask Jessica's parents. They were all there. I am not interested in your excuses, Dad said. Kimberly is your sister. Family comes first. Always. Then why do you not ask Jessica? Ask her family what really happened. Dad's face hardened. Jessica is an outsider. Kimberly is blood. Blood does not lie to blood. I felt something crack inside my chest. All those years of trying, of hoping, of waiting for him to see me, and this was what it came down to. Blood. As if biology excused everything. As if being related meant Kimberly could never do wrong and I could never be right. Apologize to Kimberly right now, Dad said, or you are not welcome in this house. The room fell silent. I looked at my sister. She sat there with that slight smirk hidden behind her sad expression. She thought she had won. She thought I would break, that I would bow down just to keep the peace like I always had. I turned back to Dad. My voice came out steady, surprisingly calm. You want me to apologize for something I did not do. I want you to be a man and admit when you are wrong, Dad. I stood up slowly. I have spent my entire life trying to be good enough for you. I worked hard. I put myself through college. I bought my own house. I supported this family in every way I could. I never asked you for anything. And now you are asking me to apologize for something I did not do to protect someone who is lying to your face. His jaw tightened. That is your final answer. I felt something shift inside me. A weight I had been carrying for 12 years suddenly felt lighter. Clarity washed over me like cold water. This was never going to change. He was never going to see me. Not really. Not the way I needed him to. Yes, I said quietly. That is my final answer. I will not apologize. The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. Kimberly's smirk faded. She looked uncertain now, like maybe she had not expected this. Dad's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Then do not come back to this house until you are ready to apologize to your sister. I stood there for a moment, looking at the man who raised me. The man who taught me to ride a bike, who came to my Little League games before Mom died, who used to ruffle my hair and call me champ. That man was gone. He had been gone for a long time. I had just been too hopeful to admit it. I picked up my keys from the side table. Kimberly sat up straighter. Amos, wait, she started, but her voice lacked conviction. She had gotten what she wanted. Why did she suddenly look worried? I looked at my father one last time. All right. Just those 2 words. Then I turned and walked toward the door. Amos. Dad's voice cracked slightly. Where are you going? I did not answer. I opened the door, stepped out into the November cold, and closed it behind me. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove away. I did not look back. The first thing I did when I got home was block both their numbers. Jessica was waiting for me. She had made tea, and we sat on the couch while I told her everything. She did not say I told you so. She did not ask if I was sure. She just held my hand and said, I am proud of you. Marcus, my best friend, since college came over that night. When I told him what happened, he just nodded slowly. About time, man. You deserved better than that years ago. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into work. I got a promotion. Jessica and I set a wedding date. Life moved forward without them in it, and the strangest thing happened. I felt lighter, freer, like I had been holding my breath for 12 years, and finally remembered how to exhale. 3 months passed. Jessica and I got married in a small ceremony at a vineyard outside the city. We invited close friends, her family, and Marcus stood as my best man. It was perfect, simple, and full of love. I did not invite Dad or Kimberly. Jessica asked once if I was sure, and I was. Some doors once closed are meant to stay that way. We bought a bigger house, one with 4 bedrooms and a backyard, perfect for the family we wanted to build. My career took off. I made senior director. Everything I had worked for was finally coming together, and for the first time in my life, I was not waiting for someone else's approval to feel happy. 6 months after I walked out of Dad's house, Marcus called me. "I ran into your father at the grocery store today." I paused. "And he looks rough, man. Really rough. Lost weight. Looks about 10 years older. Did he say anything? Asked about you? Wanted to know how you were doing." I felt a small pang in my chest but pushed it down. "What did you tell him?" "Told him you were doing great. Better than ever, actually. Then he asked if I could tell you to call him." I was quiet for a moment. "What did you say?" I said. "That was up to you." I thanked Marcus and hung up. I did not call Dad. Whatever he was going through, whatever regret he might be feeling, it was not my responsibility anymore. He had given him chance after chance after chance. He made his choice. I made mine. 3 months later, my phone rang from a number I did not recognize. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Amos. It was Kimberly. Her voice sounded different, smaller, scared. "What do you want, Kimberly?" I need to talk to you. It is about Dad." My stomach tightened, but I kept my voice even. "What about him?" She started crying. Real crying this time, not the fake performance from that day in the living room. "Everything is falling apart. I made a mistake. A huge mistake." I waited. I did not offer comfort. I just listened. "I took money from Dad's account," she said, between sobs. "A lot of money. I thought I was investing it. This guy I was dating said he had this great opportunity and I wanted to help Dad, make money for us. But it was fake. It was all fake. The money is gone. All of it. Dad's retirement savings. Everything." I closed my eyes. Of course this happened. "Dad had to sell the house," she continued. "We are living in a apartment now, a tiny place, and he had a heart attack last month. A small one, but the doctors said it was from stress. He is okay now, but he is not the same. He barely talks. He just sits and stares at the wall most days." "I am sorry Dad is not well," I said carefully, "but I do not understand why you are calling me." "Because he needs you." Her voice rose with desperation. "We need you. I know I messed up. I know I lied about what happened at the restaurant. I was jealous. Okay. You had everything together, and I had nothing. I just wanted Dad's attention, and I knew if I made you look bad, he would focus on me. But I never thought you would actually leave. You thought I would just take it," I said quietly, like I always did. "I am sorry. I am so sorry. Please come back. Dad needs you. Please." I took a long breath. I thought about that night 9 months ago. Standing in Dad's living room. Him telling me to apologize or leave. Me choosing to leave. I thought about all the years before that. All the times I swallowed my hurt, my anger, my disappointment because I loved them and hoped they would love me back the same way. "I am sorry Dad is sick," I said. "I genuinely am, but this is not my problem to solve. How can you say that you are his son? How can you be so cold?" Cold, a bitter laugh escaped me. "You mean the same way Dad was cold when he kicked me out for refusing to apologize for something I did not do? Or the same way you were cold when you lied about me to destroy my happiness?" Silence. "You and Dad made it very clear that I was not family unless I did exactly what you wanted. So I am living my life now, without you in it. But goodbye, Kimberly." I hung up. Then I blocked that number too. Jessica found me sitting on our back porch an hour later. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, and I meant it. I am. The first few weeks after that call were harder than I expected. Not because I regretted my decision. I did not. But grief has a way of sneaking up on you even when you think you have moved past it. I was grieving the family I wished I had, not the one I actually did. Jessica suggested I talk to someone, so I started seeing a therapist named Dr. Richardson. She was this older woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. In our 3rd session, she said something that stuck with me. "Amos, setting boundaries does not make you a bad person. It makes you a healthy one. You cannot set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. I thought about that a lot. About how I had spent years trying to earn love that should have been freely given. About how Kimberly had been enabled her entire adult life and never learned to stand on her own. About how Dad's grief had twisted into something toxic that hurt everyone around him. 1 year after I walked out of that house, Jessica gave birth to our son. We named him Patrick, after my mother, Patricia. Holding him in the hospital, looking at his tiny, perfect face, I made a promise. I would never make him feel invisible. I would never pit him against a sibling. I would love him and any future children we had equally fiercely, without condition. Marcus visited us in the hospital. "You are going to be an amazing dad," he said. "I am going to try," I said. "I am going to try to be everything mine was not." Life moved forward. Patrick grew. We bought a swing set for the backyard. Jessica went back to work part-time. I got another promotion. We hosted Thanksgiving at our house with Jessica's family and our close friends. Our home was full of laughter and love and the kind of warmth I had forgotten could exist. I heard through Marcus, who heard through someone else, that Dad and Kimberly had moved to a different state, somewhere cheaper. I did not ask for details. I did not need to know. They were not part of my story anymore. Sometimes late at night, when the house was quiet and Patrick was asleep, I would think about that moment in the living room. Dad demanding an apology. Me saying all right and walking away. I used to wonder if I should have handled it differently, should have tried harder, should have been the bigger person. But therapy taught me that being the bigger person does not mean accepting mistreatment. It does not mean sacrificing your self-respect to keep the peace. Sometimes being the bigger person means knowing when to walk away. Dad and Kimberly did not fall apart because I left. They fell apart because their entire dynamic was built on an unstable foundation. Kimberly never learned responsibility because Dad shielded her from consequences. Dad lost a good son because he was too blind to see past his grief and recognize the harm he was causing. Their collapse was not my fault. It was the natural result of years of unhealthy patterns finally catching up with them. I learned something important through all of this. Love should not hurt. Family should not require you to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for them is to let go. I do not hate my father or my sister. I genuinely hope they are okay wherever they are. But I also know I made the right choice. My life is full now. Full of people who see me, who value me, who love me not for what I can do for them, but for who I am. Patrick started walking last month. His first steps were toward me. His little arms outstretched, his face full of trust and joy. I scooped him up and held him close, and in that moment I felt something I had not felt in years. Peace. Real, deep, unshakable peace. I am not the same person I was standing in that living room a year and a half ago. I am stronger now. I know my worth. I know that I deserve love, that does not come with conditions, respect, that does not have to be earned through suffering and family, that does not require me to betray myself to belong. So if you are reading this, if you are in a situation where someone is asking you to apologize for something you did not do to accept treatment, you do not deserve to stay in a relationship that is slowly killing your spirit. I want you to know something. It is okay to say all right and walk away. It is okay to choose yourself. It is okay to build a life with people who actually see you. You are not responsible for fixing people who do not want to be fixed. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep others warm, and you are not a bad person for having boundaries. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leave. Sometimes all right is the most powerful response you can give. And sometimes the family you build is better than the family you were born into. I do not regret my decision, not for a single second, and I never will. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have stayed and apologized to keep the peace, or would you have walked away like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your perspective. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about family betrayal and finding your strength. Share this with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope wherever you are, whatever you are going through, you find the courage to choose yourself. You deserve it. Take care of yourself out there and remember your peace matters more than their approval.